Set something up here. We're gonna go with that power. This is actually a really nice home coffee roaster for somebody that wants to get into it. It's pretty easy to use and you get some really, really nice results out of it. So first off, let's go through the actual setup of this thing. Your roast chamber, I like how it looks like a coffee mug and it kind of locks into place. And then you have your chaff collector and the cap. And they just nestle nicely on the top here. The displays and controls are very easy to deal with. You have a run cool option, 3 different settings, your fan, your power, and your timer. And everything works off this adjust knob. It's one knob to control everything. You just push the button to toggle through the different settings. So right now I'm at a fan speed of 9. I'm at a power of 3, and I set the timer to 20 minutes. Now, the timer counts down as you're roasting. I would recommend having your own timer, or you can just use your cell phone, stopwatch, whatever the case may be. So you get a little bit better data that way. So what I like to do when I go to charge this, I like a fan setting of 9, power 3, and I set the timer to 20. Now the reason I set the timer to 20 is that it will actually power down and start cooling your roast at 20 minutes. You should never roast for 20 minutes, never. So let's get that going. You can roast this to varying degrees. This is really great light roasted. It's really good dark roasted. We'll take the chaff collector, top cap, got our settings in. Here we go. So you'll notice when we get started, the beans don't move a lot, even with the highest fan power. But they'll start moving a little bit more as the roast progresses. As we're moving along, it's really nice to take in a lot of the sensory cues that you're getting from the coffee. When you first start roasting it, you're gonna smell like a mowed grass, a wet grass smell. And you're gonna get like a dry grass, a hay. And then when it starts yellowing, you're gonna get like a bready, a sweet smell. And that kind of gives you a good idea of where you're at in the roast. Normally, I want to hit the yellow phase somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes. And you can start seeing the temperature and the color changes. Also, on the toggle switch, the adjust switch, if you turn it quickly clockwise, you can get your temperature reading. And we're going into the first crack. We're gonna turn the fan speed down and we're gonna turn the power up. So yeah, now we're definitely jumping into the yellow phase, getting a lot more of a sweet aroma. And definitely keep notes of what you've done, each of your roasts. You know, you can do some really, really nice light roasts with this. They come out very, very bright. Medium roasts are good. The dark roasts, with this kind of roaster, they come out okay, but they tend to taste a little baked. But definitely do some experimenting. I mean, this is the great thing about doing something like this. All right, so I am going to give this a little bit more power now. So, because we're coming in pretty close to the first crack. So I'm going to go up to a power of 8, fan speed 7. So we're about 6 minutes into the roast right now. I want to try to hit first crack about 7 minutes, 7-8 minutes. That's why I kind of boosted the power up a little bit. So this is what I call the A phase. This is right before you're going to go into the first crack. And the first crack is a very, very cool and interesting thing that happens with the coffee. You're putting all this energy into the coffee beans, and then in this one moment, all the beans start releasing all that energy and the moisture, and they start basically bursting, and you're going to hear it. It sounds a lot like making popcorn. I'm going to bump the power up a little bit, increase the fan speed just a little bit, because right around the first crack, I want to try to slow the roast down a little bit. So yeah, I think we're cruising into first crack now. So I'm going to bring the power back just a little bit. I'm going to bring the fan speed down just a little bit so you can actually hear the crack. So normally what I'll do is I try to hit the first crack around 7. I hit it about 7.5 minutes. In this particular coffee, I'm going to take this 2 minutes past the first crack. Love that smell. And I'm going to bring the power down a little bit more. Bring the fan up a little bit. So I don't want to throw too much heat and power at it right now. So when I hit 2 minutes on my timer, I'm going to go to the cool down phase. So the same setting or the same button, you got your run cool button. We're on run now. You can set it to 1, 2, or 3 minutes. I always set it to a 3-minute cool. Just to make it easier, you can dump it out. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's my 2 minutes. I hit the cool down. When you go to cool, turn your fan speed all the way up to 9. Turn your power down to 1. And basically it starts bringing cool air, ambient air into the chamber. Yeah, the great thing is setting up milestones for yourself. Whereas when you want to hit your first crack, when you want to hit yellow phase, those things are really nice for developing your profiles. And then you can also figure out what you like out of the cup that you have, so you know how to replicate that. Start to finish, this is going to end up taking us about 13 minutes. So I'd recommend not taking it much longer than that. Obviously darker roasts are going to take a little bit longer. I would never do a roast past 16 minutes because you'll get what they call baked coffee, and it tends to be flat, dull, lacks any kind of flavor. And honestly, this is why we're getting into this, because we want really fresh coffee. So normally after I roast, I usually give my coffee 24 to 48 hours to off gas. All the carbon comes out and the flavors really hit their peak about that time. All right, 1 more minute for cool down. So I got one last little hack for this thing. So I get a couple of kitchen towels or oven mitts. When this comes to an end, so all your chaff is collecting here in the cap. And the chaff is basically like the skin from the bean. I'll show that to you when I pull it off. But what happens is when the fan cuts off, the chaff falls. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the cap off while it's still running, so as the chaff doesn't fall back in. So we're getting pretty close to the end here, and you can feel that it's getting cool, but you do not want to touch this with your bare hands. So just going to carefully pull this off. So you're going to get some of the chaff. We'll go ahead and stop it. So yeah, you can see some of the chaff that blew off. It's just basically it's almost like the parchment off the beans. You can see that. But in that way, you got a pretty clean cup here. Don't want to lose that one. No bean left behind. And there you go. So that gave us probably a roasted about 7 ounces, a little more than a half of a pound. So, all right. Happy roasting, happy brewing.
Nice.
Done?
That was really good.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
That was so good. Wow.